and welcome to Animals Labs. Firstly, just to let you know, I'm glad to be back. I've been away for a little bit of time. I had some PC issues, which I'm sure you've all been through. But yeah, we're back. We've got another patch notes, which is probably my favourite thing to do. I love going through these. So this is to do with the fusion that I believe comes out tomorrow, and a whole load of buffs and nerfs and stuff for some champions. So we'll go through those. Here we go. So patch 4.70, ironing out some final creases, but we're ready to share some of the details. Yada yada yada. Boss guys, first of all, a neat little feature. Whether you're a green newbie or grizzled veteran, yada yada. Learn about more raid bosses. Every dungeon, every boss stage in Doom Tower faction wars, and even clan boss battles will feature a special pop-up that contains a full description of the boss's skills, which is useful. You can read through it, and it will be accessible via a special button. Okay, useful. Second tab will feature a list of teams of the week. So is this teams for your clan, or is just like the best teams in the world game, because they're all going to be the same 5 champions and this actually isn't going to help at all? If it's in your clan, I guess that helps for your level. I wish you could do it, like, I'd love the game to be able to actually have proper size clans or like cluster clans. So imagine if we had like juices 1 to 5 and you could see, oh look, this is what 5's doing, this is what 4's doing, etc. But hey, I'm not sure. I think this feels like the win more version. Champion rebalance, Tila Gorman. So she has her speed increased by 5. That's not too bad. Can't remember what her base speed is in game before ascension, because this says only when she's ascended. So I think it's less, it's like 90 something, but 93 is really low. 98 is kind of average for all the champions, so that's not too bad. Attacks one enemy, steals one random buff from the target, has a 50% chance of stealing another random buff if the target is under 2 or more buffs. Probably increases to 75% chance, that's not too bad. Wonder if it works versus bosses. Cooldown decreased to 3 turns. Places a continuous heal on 2 ally for 2 turns. Yeah, that's better. Previously it didn't really do a lot. Is she a better champion? Well, clearly yes. I don't think she's going to be an amazing champion. She's probably like viable mid-early game still. We'll see. Robar increased speed. This is huge because Robar is really good in arena. He's like probably the second best nuker in the game, other than Thunder. However, one of the biggest problems with him was just base speed was so low, he was hard to fix. Increased damage if it's under fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, sleep, or stun. So they've added a load of stuff to this. He's in a much better place. I think he's safe to say he's as good, if not on the same level as Trunda in terms of pure damage to arena. King Garrog, Goremaker. So King Garrog is the orc. He's got like these 2 huge sides, but he hit like a wet noodle. They've increased his damage multiplier, but to what? Like, if they've tripled it, then he might be okay. If they've doubled it, maybe not. But this just doesn't say anything. He's a single target champion. I'll be honest, I think you probably just stay in arena. Pixinel. Now I have 4 Pixinels, so I've been secretly waiting for this buff for a while. Mistress of Glamours has a 30% chance of placing Perfect Veil, so it used to be Veil, for 1 turn on the enemy with the lowest HP, and it used to be random. So this is better for a support champion. Obviously cannot place it on herself, so you're going to help your one ally. This could be, if it's like the total HP, it could be a way of setting up someone like Kanjafon in the arena. Not sure. Passive. So all they've checked, the rest of the stuff they've left, which means her A2 is still pretty decent, but her A3's attacked 5 times and only freezes on the second hit. So she needs another setup champion with her. Frost super passive when enemy phrases freeze. It has a 50% chance, which I think it will book to 65% chance because it's got random 5% chance. It's too low, 65. You know, obviously they want some randomization, and 65 is a bit over half. I wish it was like 75, 80. Has a 35% chance of increasing the turn meter. This does nothing. It's going to be 50%. Why can't they just say fills the turn meter by 25% every time she receives it? Why do we need a chance? You know? Why can't this just be once per turn she steals 1 buck? Then she might actually be viable. Removes any freeze debuffs from this champion at the start of any turn. Good. I'll be honest. I still think she's useful. I think she needs another buff. Tomb Lord. Tomb Lord needed work, but he's probably in a really good place after this. So Death Burst is his, I think it's his A2. Attacks one enemy, has 100% when you book it, chance of placing 2 poisons for 2 turns. It was 1 turn. If it's critical, has a 100% chance of placing poisons for 2 turns. So he's going to place 4 poisons for 2 turns. I think it's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's huge. It's like massive, because suddenly, like before he'd do his defense down, he might take an extra turn and he would put poison on. It just wasn't doing quite enough. But this is big. Blight is his defense down. If it's a 100% chance of defense down, if they're less than 50% health, he gets an additional turn. This is really good. I think with Death Burst going up and this coming up, one thing I'm going to want to try is using him against the clan boss in a team. But I think you can't reduce his turn meter, can you? So it doesn't matter what HP you use at him. But if you can get him running at a 2-1, I think that's important. Then he'll be really good. And the accuracy in Doom Tower. Before he had like a 43% in arena, but he was never quite useful in arena as a defense champion. I like this change. I think this change is big. I'm all for it. War Chief, Marauder decrease to 3 turns. I mean, I don't think he needed that nerf buff even. I don't think it changes a lot. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be annoying in Waves and Doom Tower versus him, but that's about it. I don't think it makes him any better. Bacillus Runners with damage multiplying. This doesn't like. Please tell us what this increase from and to. Again, what does this mean? Attacks one enemy 3 times, will ignore increased defense buffs, which it didn't before, shield buffs, block damage, as well as 50% of the target's defense. So he's going to hit a lot harder, hopefully. But it's 1 enemy 3 times. So interesting. Again, it's good. It all depends on the smart play. He could be much better. He could be just no different. Has a 75, but I think it's 100% increase for stun for 1 turn. Decreases each target made by 50% if the stun is not deep placed. You almost want him not to have the stun in some instances. But again, damage multiply. By what? Potentially a good change. Potentially gives him use. He was hitting like a wet noodle with 4. If they've doubled it, you know, if it goes up to something like this, could potentially be like Trunda level of damage. We just have no idea. Crypt King Growl. It's been sat in my vault for ages. Has a 60% chance of placing the increased attack for 2 turns. Decrease attack for 2 turns. Has a 100% chance instead if the target is on the HP burn debuff or a frost or a freeze debuff. Okay. So his second ability, Deathfire, Damage multiplier increased. Cool, whatever. Attacks all enemies. This is good. It used to be just 3 at random, so you could hit the same person 3 times. Has a 75% chance, which you can book to 100, of placing a HP burn debuff for 2 turns. So he's actually going to be good now for Clan Boss, I think. If you get it right, he can have his A1. He can basically be your decreased down champion because you can put HP burn out, then he can put his decreased attack out. That's pretty much it. And I think he puts his A3 will increase the HP burn of all champions by 3 turns, and it can't be resisted. It's not too bad. I think you'd probably want to turn his A3 off, and you'd need to look at his stats. But it means he has a place in Clan Boss, I think, now. And also, you know, things like Ice Spider. His decreased attack is quite good on hard. War Mother. Base attack, defense, and bomb damage multiplier increased. Cool. What by what? Awesome. Special brew. Attacks all enemies, which is what it did. It detonates it, so they've reduced the turn. Places 2 bombs and detonates after 1 less turn. Bomb damage increases by 100% against bosses. Cool. This is worse. This is actually a nerf. Attacks all enemies. Instantly detonates all bomb debuffs if this champion is under increased attack buff. Used to read detonates all bombs if this attack is critical. So this is a straight up nerf. They've said it's a buff, but it isn't, because you need to have an increased attack up, and I don't think she can't put it on herself, right? So they've just nerfed War Mother. They've called it a buff jokingly, but that's not a buff. This makes it good because she can put the bomb up for 2 turns. This is just a straight nerf. Growl Hack the Blooded, Unbound Anger. They've decreased this by 1 turn. So he puts a 20%, reduces the turn meter by 20% for each enemy under decreased speed, and attacks all enemies. I don't really think it does enough, to be honest. Attacks 1 enemy and steals the turn meter. Targets turn meter. Yeah, that's cool. And they've added this. Places 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns if the attack is critical. Like, I guess actually that is because each critical fills it by 20%. So if you hit 5 enemies with your with Unbound Anger, you get another turn straight away because you gain 100%. Although you don't technically get an extra turn because 100% turn meter isn't full turn meter, right? So you would get 100%, but someone else may have had 100% ticked before this, so they might go between you. He's better. I don't think he's in a great place right now. I think this needed to have. I think this needed to say attacks all enemies. Has like a 75% book to 100% chance of stealing turn meter. Because then he'd be really good, like really, really strong. Now this is one that they've said is a definite nerf. So for Ugrin, what they've done is they've reduced this by 1 attack. I don't really, I mean, that is a nerf because it's not bad against Fire Knight, but I don't think it's a big deal. Bizarre Vapors is increased to 6 turns, but it will be on 4 turns. Places 2 poison debuffs on all enemy. So they've dropped it by a poison. I mean, he's still good. He's not busted strong right now. He's still good. This is huge. I don't care what you see in the rest of the thing. This is here is massive. Yeah, this is huge. Artifact and accessory storage will increase by 300. Like, that's massive. you know, 1,300. A lot of us are sat going, how do I keep the gear I want to keep? Or you do a big farming run and you come through. And then we're on to the fusion champions. So this is the fusion that's coming up. It's a Brogni style fusion, which means you have to collect all the fragments and then you have to combine the epics in and level them to 50 and then send them. But it's not really worth it for free to play. It's like a WoW fusion. Thankfully, this guy's average. So he's a magic defense bannerlords. Fairer fight attacks one enemy, removes any shield buffs and has a 50% books to 75% chance of removing one buff, and has a 100% chance. So which has 100%? Is he going to remove the shield 100% of the time, or is this 100% chance of removing a buff? Either way, like, what boss's buff are we caring about removing? Guessing means he's good versus potion pot lords, like the spirit one, who removes the shield. No, magic one removes the shield. What other bosses get buffs? Not a lot, really. Yeah, it's fair enough. A1 removes any shield buffs, might be useful in arena. Battlefield Beacon attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 50% chance, books to 75. Placing a provoke. Why 100%? Make it 100% and it's useful. And a 100% chance of placing a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. So if he'd have had 100% chance of placing provoke, this would have been a really nice ability, but does nothing. Like, you know, why are you going to use this over? You have them, some of the epics and rares, because if you're going to use him in arena, and this is so far looks like an arena ability, you want to just put a full on provoke. And he can't. He's because it's A2. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. You're not gonna. The only boss you can really provoke is the Magma Dragon, Doom Tower, which is what he's supposed to be based on this. Don't see it. 5-turn cooldown, books to a 3-turn cooldown, places a shield buff on allies for 2 turns, equal to 30% of this champion's max HP, places a 25% strengthen. So this is strong, okay? Strengthen's probably the best stick buff in the game for stopping damage other than increased defense, because it's just 25% reduced maximum whatever. And a shield based on his health, and like currently he's based off defense, which is slightly frustrating. His damage is on defense, but I think you're just going to be straight up fine going for HP build. Whenever the champion attacks, has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all buffs on the attacker by 1 turn. 40% chance if it's a boss. So he's like a shielder, remove buffs with a map provoke. So as you can see, he's average. I'm definitely not going to go for him. I've heard some of the epics are better, and we'll find out, shall we? Okay, we have Dehurt the Hungerer. Spirit champion demon spawn. They love loads of demon spawn. Why do we need more? But hey. Odious bulk. He's a big boy. Attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of placing stun. Too bad. Cannibal Litany places a 30% reflect damage on all allies for 2 turns. Places a 15% heal buff on allies for 1 turn. And then heals all allies by 15% of their max HP. Why couldn't they say of his max HP? On a 3-turn cooldown. This is good for Fire Knight, is a good place for him so far. Wish he had more on here. Not too bad. I guess he's a full-on support if we look at him. Hungry for more. Revives 2 random allies with 50% HP. And then receives their turn by 50%. He is good in faction wars. One of the things that they suffer is Reviver. So they fixed that with this guy. He's good for faction wars, and you can tell this especially. They know that because they've added him for defense of faction wars. Yeah, not bad. If you can get him for faction wars, you can get him. Otherwise, got yet more night revs. Force, attack. They've got a lot of force champions in there. Like a lot of force champions in there. Weft of Madness. Weft. Not heard that word for a long time. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of applying debuff spread. Nice. Taking one random debuff under the target and placing on all enemies under Hex. So for this to work, they need to have Hex, which means it attacks one enemy, and then sometimes 70% chance it does it when under the Hex buff. Interesting. Shrieking Voices attacks all enemies, increases the duration of all debuffs on all enemies by 1 turn. Okay, that's not too bad. So you know you can just attack everyone, spread everything down. Oh, Melancholia attacks all enemies, places a 60% decreased defense for 2 turns. Hell yes, 100% chance decreased defense. She is for 2 turns. She increases it for a turn here. And she's going to be putting Hex out. Attacking many enemies under decreased defense, which she puts out herself, has a 50% chance of placing. So with this one, I wonder if they're under decreased defense, she attacks them. Does she put the Hex on and then extend it? She's actually quite good. I mean, if you've got like Growl or Thea, who's in the Night Revs faction already, she's quite good. I like this champion. I think she's a specialist champion. If you need a decreased defense champion, it's a place. Okay, so it still uses accuracy, but it is 100% without books. So if you can get her and you need a decreased defense champion for arena, that she's good. Scabbarus is a skinwalker. They always need more magic attack champions. I've seen his model. He's got like 3 spiders on. He's 3 rats on his shoulder. It's pretty awesome. What have we got? Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison for 2 turns. Okay, and it's up to 70%. Not bad. Attacks all enemies, has a 100% chance of placing leech. Debuff for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Got a poison leech champion. This could be interesting. Attacks one enemy, has a 100% chance of placing weaken. 2 turns. Also places an increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns if the weaken is placed. Nice. And damage increases by 20%. So he's actually good for clan boss. In fact, he's very good for clan boss. You've got a poisoner that adds a leech and a weaken. So early game, if you can get him, stick him in, have someone with decreased defense and decreased attack like Tyrell. He's good. I like him. Skinwalkers seem to like doing this stuff. So far, the epics are better. All 4 of them are better than this legendary. Dimetheria, epic, void, dwarf, tasty. Void's always interesting. Attacks one enemy 2 times, places a shield buff for 2 turns equal to 10% of this champion's HP. Nice. On the ally with the lowest HP, and it's 5. It's actually like 30% of the champion's HP. Light of the Deep increases the duration of all ally buffs for 1 turn, and then decreases the duration of all debuffs on ally by 1 turn. Wow. Well, that means she's like, I think she's actually better now than Godseeker. Also heals all allies by 2% of their max HP. Heals by 2% max HP for each turn added or removed from the duration of buffs and debuffs of this skill. So imagine you've got an increased defense. I'm just thinking samples, right? You've got increased defense, got increased attack, and a shield, potentially. And you're removing the stun or something from a target. She's going to heal everyone. That's a, is it, if that's each one of them, that's 3, 6, 9. You could potentially heal them for like 60% of their health, which is huge, and it's their max HP, which is a shame, but that's really strong. Channel the Bloodlines. Oh wow. Places block damage buff on all allies for 1 turn, and a continuous heal buff on all enemies for 2 turns. And it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Can you extend block damage? Increases ally defense in all battles by 20%. So she's amazing. She's amazing. You can do budget unkillable with her and Amania. You can do, you know, she probably makes this bomb thingy guy really easy. She's a replacement for she's a potential replacement for Doom Priest in the Clan Boss, because you can reduce the stun or the decreased speed with this ability. Pretty tasty. But that looks to be everything. So, well, I guess thank you for joining me. Welcome back to Animals Labs. Hopefully we'll be a bit more up to date. I think I'm going to try and get 1 to 2 videos out each week. But all that I say is I ask that you like and subscribe. And until next time, have a good day.